Hello everyone, my name is Furnish. I'm an architect and I'm here to help you step by step through our software SimLab Composer. If you're an architect, if you're an interior designer, or if you're into 3D in any way, this is your best bet if you want to create a VR experience and an interactive VR experience the fastest way possible. So, we're going to learn how to make doors open. We're going to learn how to make elevators move from one floor to another. And stick with us. It's going to be very simple and easy to lights off. So you can learn how to import any 3D model or design that you have and just experience it in VR. This is the window for our software, SimLab Composer. As you can see, this is the model of the demo we've talked about earlier. Let's then move on to a simple modificational modeling or placing commands or tools. Like if we select this guy here, which is the start point of our VR experience, we can see that in the toolbox here we see all the models that we have in our project, and the name of it is viewer start position, so we can also select anything that we have from here, and by pressing 1, 2, 3 from rotate, move and scale. So 2 if I want to move my object anywhere in the space here. A simple hint here for which is a bit more advanced maybe. If you press N, then you can snap the object on any other 3D object or 3D geometry. So I pressed N right now and it tells me to select the object you want to snap to. So when I press on this floor, it just... And you can be 100% sure that there is no intersection and there is no space between them. So it's exactly on top. The way to run any project in VR is very easy, very simple. First, of course, you have to, this is not a modeling software, so you have to use another software, whether it's SketchUp, whether it's 3ds Max, Maya. You can export them files and import them here. This software of ours has global compatibility, so any known 3D extension is compatible with our software. And you import your model from File, Import, and select the model that you have. You basically need to group the objects that you want to animate, for example, or the door that you want to open or move. And then, as simple as it sounds, you just click on VR Viewer and you click on the Set Start Position. So, you see this message here, select the object you want to snap to. Here I've already added the start position, so let me delete it for a second and press again. So it imports the model of the start point, and you select any point that you want. And as we've discussed earlier, you can move around, scale, or snap with N to the first floor. Afterwards, you just click on the VR viewer again and show in VR, or just simply Control and Enter. So, whether you have want to show your experience on desktop or VR, you click it from here, and then you optimize the project if you see a lot of flickering or a lot of low frame rate. So this is the viewer, which you can download for free also, and see any projects that we've uploaded into our website. You can download them and watch them and experience them the same way that I'm experiencing this project here. You can press W, S, D, or A to move around, and you can, of course, use your mouse to look around, and as simple as that, you can reach any point that you want. Shift is also used for running if you want to reach a point immediately. The left mouse button is used to interact with any interactive objects in the scene. You can see that you have an animated material here, which we are going to learn about in more advanced tutorials. We're going to learn about how material and reflection is effective. And if you press the middle mouse button here, you can have this window of our viewer, which you can select from a catalog that you can add models from our library to the project. Then you have material editor, which you can select any material in the project and edit it. And you have the environment. You can edit the sun horizontally, the elevation of the sun. We'll talk more about these later. Then the navigation mode, from walking to flying, mechanical mode. And we're gonna also talk about the notes bar. And that's it. This is very simple, and this is a way for you to jump into VR and get a high quality project to be able to present it to your clients. So let's start now with adding more interactivity into our VR scene. It's very simple, it's very easy. You don't need any knowledge in scripting or programming. It's basically all visual. So we have this up button here, and we have our doors, right and left, doors of the elevator, and we want to make this up button create an action or an animation of those two door planes to move away from each other. So first of all, we're going to have to learn a bit about the time slider here, which we can see the keyframes for any animation that we do. And if you hover onto this, you can see that it's named the current time indicator. So now we are at 0, and if we move it, we can see that the indicator is 50% at 50. It also depends on the maximum amount of frames you're allowing in this current scene. If you want to increase that, you hold the work area end and you drag it depending on how much frames you need or how many. That also has a relative amount to seconds to the time, the real time, which is every 100 frames are near to 3 seconds. So any animation that we place from 0 to 100 is going to cost us 3 seconds in real time, about 3 seconds. Let's say we want to make this door open in 3 seconds, so we just move our current time indicator to key 100, and we simply use the transitional tool and move it just close to the edge. Now you can see that automatically our SimLab composer created 2 keyframes, which if we return back to frame 0, the door is closed, and if we press space, we can see that the animation is playing and the left part of the door is opening. And we can do the same thing to the other side, so go back to 100 and we drag the door open. Try to make them both symmetrical. As you see here, if we select both of the doors, we can see the two names of them on the time slider, and the keyframes top of each other. What we can also do here is we can drag these keyframes if we want to increase the time of this door to open, or even decrease it. But let's stick to 100 frames, which are 3 seconds for now. After doing this, you have to select all the keyframes and press on this little icon here, which is create an animation sequence. Once you do that, you name your sequence whatever you want to name it, and most probably it's going to indicate the action itself. So here, elevator door open. If I want to also create the reverse animation, I can press on this button here and then click OK. Now you have to know that these frames here do not affect our VR experience at all. We have to link the interactions with sequences, which we can see from the toolbar here. If we click on sequences, we can see the last two sequences we've created here, which is one of them is the reverse of the other one. Yes, this is the reverse one, and this is the normal one. So anytime we delete our keyframes, if we select our doors back again and we accidentally delete the keyframes, now there is no animation, but the sequence is saved. So if we want to run the sequence again, we can show the animation list from this small icon here, and we click, for example, on the elevator open reverse and show. Now the door is going to close. It's the opposite of the animation that we did earlier. But since I've said that this does not affect our VR experience at all, how can we trigger this button once I click on it in VR to open the door? It's very easy. So we either pick the object now from the viewport itself, or we click on it from the object names list from here, the up button. So once I click on it, I get this properties window here, which I can also add some materials if it's the kind of object is a geometry. This is a group, so also I can add actions to groups that have multiple geometries inside. So this group actually has more than one geometry, as you see here, but I want the action to be applied to all these geometries at once. So I simply click on this type button here at the action tab, and I click on play sequence. So what happens is once I click on this trigger, one of these sequences is gonna play, and since I've made my sequences before and I named them elevator door open, I simply one click on this and it automatically brings itself to the sequence name here. And I don't want it to be a looped one, and I don't want it to start activated. I just want to click on the button, and right now we'll see on the VR experience how it applies. Now we are inside the VR experience through the SimLab viewer, VR viewer, and we're going to test our button if it works from the sequences. So whenever we hold the left mouse button, we see any interactive objects highlighted, like the button we just add the action to. And any other objects will also be highlighted like this one, but since we only have this one now, so let's click on it, and we see simply the animation of the door opening applying. The same way, I changed the material. I made an animation for this material to change once I click on the button. So this happened, and after I clicked the button, it became an emitter material, which we can also discuss in another tutorial about materials, an advanced tutorial, but it's also really simple to know. And also, once you get inside the elevator, I've applied an action to this button too. So when you click on it, the elevator starts to rise to the second floor. And we've arrived. You can also add sound effects later on in our advanced tutorials. This is a very easy option to do. But we'll stick now to the actions of animations, and we'll learn more about the advanced stuff later. Now we're going to talk about scene states and how to change them within our VR experience. Let's say we want to change the most common color in the mall, which is the orange one, into other colors during our experience. So we want to make those three buttons change the color here for any other button, which is most likely the same color of the button itself. I've created this plane in the composer itself using create shapes box, and I just scaled it up so it became a bit plane with some thickness, and the buttons are simply cylinders with a bit of rotation and scaling. So I want to add an action to all these objects here, just like we did with the sequences, but this time it's gonna be a scene state. The problem is when I go to the bottom of my screen here, scene states, I do not have any states right now. So I have to just create one of them. And the first one is going to be the default one. So when I click on scene states and capture, I have this window here telling me what properties this scene state should save. The only thing I need here are material states. So I uncheck every other option and I'll leave this one checked. And also I only need the material for this current selected object, which is, as you see, the sides of the carpet, the center box in here, holding the escalators, and the top part, which is also selected, as you see. Now, what I simply do is capture from selection. So I only save the data from this selected object. Now I get scene 1, I can double click on it and rename it into orange. Now I want to create another scene state with the same color of this one, which is get the color code, the same color code from the button itself, and I apply it here. Control and paste. Control C, Control V, a new scene state from selection. See? I just need to name it red. And the third one from the green is the same thing. So what I got now are 3 scene states that I can also change from one to another through the composer itself, and I can add the action to any of those buttons to apply this state. So I need this first button to apply the default state, which is the orange. I go to the object properties here, and as we told you before, from scene action, the type is scene state, and I simply just click on the scene state with the left mouse button. It applies to the action automatically. Same goes for the second button, scene state red, and same goes for the third green button, scene state green. Now let's see what happens in the VR viewer. Now we're back into our mall and the VR viewer. We can see we have the plane that we've added the buttons to. And once we hold the left mouse button, we can see the highlighted objects that have actions applied to them. Simple, as we've applied in the composer. Orange is for the default state. Red, we can see now everything is red, and the green changes the same thing that we did in the composer. This helps you and helps the client of yours to deliver their ideas and their needs as immediate as possible. And this can be applied to make certain VR experiences, like training VR experiences, and to move your camera from one point to another, or to make more than one option of furniture compositions. This can be applied into anything. So if you want to change the columns, positions, you can make certain scene states, differentiating and having a lot of variety. Now we're going to learn about a more advanced tool, which is called the Training Builder. It can give you a lot of options in adding more interactivity into your VR scene. If you want your room, for example, to be turned on once you get inside, if you want to have consequential actions happening after one another, the Training Builder can give you a lot of variety and a lot of options, but you need to get used to it. So first we're gonna apply a very simple example in which this supermarket, we want it to turn its light on once we get in and turn it back off once we get out. First we need the lights, which you can see, those 6 lights. Oh, sorry. These are, you can create them from Create, Light, IES Light. I picked the IES Light that it has a variety in patterns affecting the walls around them. And then you need to apply certain scene states, which are lights off and lights on. I've already created them, but you can see that in this case I've only captured the visibility state, not like before the material state. After I have my states, I need to create triggers in which we enter the room, we trigger this box, and once we get out of the room, we trigger this box here in front of the entrance. So this box has to be near to the size of the supermarket itself. And this one should only be triggered once we go out, and then whatever happens, it's no problem, because the default state for the lights is off. We have to make sure of that. Another thing is that these boxes should be completely invisible, so you should give them an alpha of 0. Even though you see them here a bit, they are completely invisible in the VR viewer. After that, we jump into the Training Builder window. So when we click on Training Builder from the VR Virtual Reality tab, you can first access our YouTube channel and get to learn more advanced tutorials about the Training Builder. But for now, let's stick to this. The Training Builder contains of nodes, which you connect them to each other in order to create algorithms and consequential actions. We need only 2 nodes in this case. The first one is apply scene state, so we can apply one of the states that we created, and the other one is node internode. Now, once a node enters another, which is in this case 3D object, this scene state applies. The 2 nodes should be our player, or the one that we're controlling, which is in this case this guy here. So we click on him from the name toolset, and we click on the icon here, and we see it applied. The other trigger, which is node B, should be the box containing the whole supermarket. So we click on it from here, and we click back on the icon from the Training Builder window. Now, we have to make sure that once we're inside, the lights are on. So we click left on the Apply Scene State, and we click with the left mouse button on the Lights On Scene State from the button of our SimLab Composer. We can see that it has already applied. Afterwards, we connect the execute from the node entered node in order to execute the Apply Scene State node. Now, once we enter the room or the supermarket, the lights are on. But we also have to make sure that once we go out, we turn them back off. That's why I created this box to be the trigger going out of the supermarket. So we do the same thing, the same two nodes. We add them, of course, by dragging and dropping. The node A should be the same one, the viewer start position, which is our the user that we control inside the VR viewer. And the second one should be this small box on the entrance. Now in this case, we wanted the scene state to be lights off, of course. And we connect the executes with each other. Now we have our training builder ready, and let's apply it and see what happens in the VR viewer. Back into our VR scene, so let's test our algorithm if it works or not. But first, make sure that the default state is lights off before you run the VR viewer. So lights on, lights off, lights on. Yeah, it's interesting. It can be much more complex also. Depends on how creative you are. Another thing for your clients is to add notes. So whenever you receive this file and open it in the viewer, you can add any new notes. For example, this one here, new note. I want this column to change its material, so I type here change material into stone, and I can even add a recording by this button, so once the client submits back the file, you can hear him and what he has to say. So wherever you go, you can get back to the note capture state and see the drawing and see if there are recordings or text added. Now let's jump into our catalog. We have this empty room now. We're simply gonna talk about how we can add furniture into VR using the catalog. And we can also create our own catalog consisting of our own 3D models. And we can just click on any category that we want and pick the item that we want to add, and it will get automatically downloaded from the cloud of our catalog server. And you can scale it, rotate it, and place it wherever you want. You can also move it around or reset it to the default state and scale. But make sure you don't add a lot of items, because you have to take care of your poly count, which is very important in real-time rendering, which this real-time VR is. We've reached the ending of our tutorial. Now you have the basic steps you need to add any project, any 3D model you have into our VR experience easily. You You've seen how easy it is and how effective it is. You can make interactive experiences now. And also follow us, because we will make many other tutorials in order to advance and get a lot more skillful. At the same time, practice by yourself. It's going to be very helpful. And ask us any question during that. Email us and check out our website for support or comment on this video. We're always happy to help. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.